And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This Vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because I know, audio is horrible. I know. I've got problems with my mixer. There's nothing I can really do about it because I don't have the stuff to be able to get in there and check to find out what's buzzing. Until it actually breaks, I've got nothing I can do about it. Sorry. Part of this is follow through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. Assuming I don't end up with any smoke coming out, everything's fine. I will not annoy the Greek god Murphy any further on that. I am your main host. I am known as Shujin Tribble, and you can find me pretty much everywhere under that name, Shujin. Hi. It's good to be back with y'all. Apologies for taking off last weekend. We, meaning my son and I, we went out to Rochester Pride and spent a good portion of the day out there, had a great time, and with any luck, the information that I brought back afterwards, which includes contact information for some groups, I'm going to see about contacting some of them and see if maybe you might be interested in joining us some night to talk about their organization, what they do, like fighting against these fake pregnancy clinics. You know what I'm talking about. Introductions are in order because I have to spend 100% more time on this than I had in previous weeks. From the Midwest of the U.S., Brigid, good evening.
Good evening.
You didn't catch me this time. I actually only got your first name. You didn't catch it. You didn't call me out.
I did catch it. I did not call you out. I'm being nice.
So Brigid Fitch is being nice to me. She's very not on character. It's fine. And from the right-hand coast, because, we're coming up into, well, not exactly hurricane season just yet, but there's a storm a-brewing on the East Coast. UnrenownedTech, good morning.
Good morning.
Nothing. No, nothing?
No, I figured I've been away for a while, so I might as well be nice.
Again,
I'm setting a trend here.
Not on point. Okay, you're off model. That's what. That's fine. It's gonna be fine. So
it's gonna drive them nuts for the rest of the show.
And the worst part of it is, I can't even claim that I'm drinking heavily because you see this, my corkscrew and bottle opener and everything. It's very, what's the word that I'm looking for? Lonely. It has nothing going on for it right now. What it is.
Oh, maybe another emergency Amazon shipment might make its way.
No, because I don't need alcohol shipped. I need to make a trip out to the college.
Actually, I don't think Amazon ships alcohol.
We're not going to test to find out. We know that they ship a whole bunch of other things, including mango flavored Don't You Frickin' Dare, because that's
mango dare.
That was so
I should send you like mango everything.
You should absolutely not, because I will find. Do you remember the whole thing with Portal? Life gives you lemons. Don't make lemonade. Turn them into combustibles. Throw them at people. Make grenades out of them. Yeah, I will find a way of making grenades.
I need to get this off my chest. I just, for shits and giggles, opened up Amazon, did a quick search for rum. And I was like, okay, I know I'm going to find rum glasses. And sure enough, I did. And, like spiced rum, infused mustard and honey, and rum infused syrups and things like that. And I was like, okay, this is all expected stuff. I'm not going to find rum. And then this came across my feed. And this is offensive.
What did you?
RK brand non-alcoholic rum.
What? Why?
No, I don't. Okay, let's go on board on this.
I quit.
My eyes are still over here. Okay, I'm doing my Chuck Barris impersonation right about now. Some of you might understand what I'm going. Okay, look, I am not an alcohol drinker where it comes to liqueurs and liquors, so it doesn't matter to me. But you might as well say that you found, I don't know, freeze-dried decaffeinated coffee for the very same level of care that I would have for this product. Because if you can't turn rum into a Molotov cocktail on your own, what's the freaking point?
Mhm. Yeah, and this is not like the alcohol-free beer, which is actually 0.05% alcohol by volume because they can't get all the alcohol out of it. This literally says 100% alcohol-free. That's offensive.
No,
That's
there's
offensive.
there's only one way to be sure that you've done that, and that's to put it all into a big vat and warm it up. Not boil it, warm it up enough so that you put a vacuum on the top so you can eliminate all of the alcohol by having it, evaporate off and then condense it. And then what was the point? Whatever. Whatever. You know what? It's disgusting
Yeah,
enough. We're just
I'm
gonna
gonna
move
go
on.
take 5 and crack open the bottle of the Kraken. Yeah,
You,
I need to cope.
you go ahead. So, hi, it's good to be back with you all. Like I said, apologies for taking off last week, but truly, I did not expect to spend 2 hours driving out there, which, by the way, I got up to 34, 35 miles to the gallon in my CRV on the highway. So, I was really happy for that. 2 hours out there, spend a good portion of the day outside, and then a 2 hour drive home. I was not about to be here and suddenly fall prey to QWERTY-itis on my face. So that was a good idea. So we're back. We had a good time. I will see about sharing some photos a little bit later so you guys can see some of the stuff. Because amongst other things, the furries were there. Because of course the furries were there. My people. We'll talk about that later. So hi everybody. Feel free to join us, when we're recording because there's plenty of room available for you. And you can be joining us over in the live chat over there. So, Stephanie, you made it. Good morning. I hope I haven't checked up on the weather for you guys over there. I hope you're handling everything okay. And Felis, good to see you. So, hi. And yes, the question had been brought up before the show. Yes, I am wearing a Hawaiian shirt because we had a Hawaiian shirt day at the place that I'm employed at, and I had to buy one because I didn't have one that fit me. So I bought this circus tent because it was the only thing on the rack, and for about $3 with a employee discount. How can you say no? Really, is what it comes down to. We're not going to talk about anything else that's come through the shop that I've seen or purchased because there are Rule 34 websites all about all this stuff, and we're not going to go through that right now because that's not the show tonight. Don't worry, it's all good. So it's good to be with you guys. How about I get things rolling because I got a show to do, and I've got I've got an hour worth of content and 2 hours worth of show that conceivably could happen. So let's go ahead and do that. So with 5 minutes on the clock for you, your 5-minute freestyle gets started right now. Legend. Some people are going to be going, okay, where's it going to connect it to? Is it going to be with the movie, with the devil, with the light and the music and Tom? I'm not even going to mention his name because I don't want the Church of Scientology coming down on me for mentioning his name. So, hi, you guys know that on Friday nights, Dalan and I, we are really hoping that Joey gets back to us. But Dalan and I, we do our Friday night show. It's a radio stream. It's a morning zoo at night. We have a good time. And unfortunately, we did hear that we lost an absolute legend in music, Tony Bennett. And the thing of it is, Tony's career easily outstrips any of our lifetimes. His career spanned from the 40s through, well, honest and truly, up until his passing just this week at 96 years old. He had, unfortunately, started to have situations with Alzheimer's, which, as we know full well, is detrimental to much mental capacity and ability to do stuff. But man, you get him in a room with a piano and a pianist to start playing some of the songs that he'd been performing for 40, 50, 60 plus years. And it was like nothing had changed. His voice, obviously, it's changed over 40, 50, 60 years. But the man could still belt out with some of the best. He was one of those people that was a class act all the way up and down the board for decades. There's no two ways of putting it. He was an amazing personality. He was special. He was one of the, truth be told, I don't even know how many of the quote-unquote old guard are still around. Damn few. Damned. And like I said, he was a class act. In his later years, in the last 10, I think, I forget when the first one was, he started doing albums of duets. Literally, the first of which was called Duets. And he did some of the songs that he had immortalized 20, 30, 40 years before with singers, contemporary singers. And one of the duets that he did, I did not realize this. The song, there was a song that was covered by Stevie Wonder. And it was an upbeat version of a song. And unfortunately, I'm having a hard time remembering which song it was off the top of my head. And it turned out, for once in my life, you probably remember it if you heard it. Stevie Wonder's version, "For Once in My Life." I know. But it turned out that, and I didn't know this, Tony Bennett had done that song years before, in a much slower, crooner type version. And as one of the duets, Stevie Wonder and Tony Bennett did that song together. And I had gone, I went looking for, a whole bunch of his music over on YouTube because I wanted to see what he had done. And there it was. And I'm looking it up. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Like, Wikipedia, the information about it. It's like, no, that was Tony's song before Stevie ever got to it. Tony Bennett also did an MTV Unplugged show where he said at one point, how about we really go ahead and get unplugged? And he put down the microphone that he was using. And they just picked him up on the house mics. And he did I Left My Heart in San Francisco for this group of much younger people who, as soon as he got into those words, applauded like crazy. The man was an absolute living legend. I'm sad to see him go. But honest and truly, I am so glad I got to live in a world with him. Thank you, Tony. I don't believe anybody could ever truly fulfill the legacy that you leave behind. You were a legend, and you will continue to be. Thank you. Thank you for the music. I think now is a good time to just go on over into the horrible scopes because, as it is, I'm verklempt, I guess is the best way to put it. So, yeah, we talked about it last night, like I said, during the show, and wow, man, Tony was something special. Tony was just something special. So let's go ahead and do the horrible scopes because it's about that time. For those of you that know what your astrological sign is, cool. Those of you that don't, I don't care anymore. You're supposed to know how this operates. Buy for under $10. Go out there, buy yourself a 12-sided die with all the symbols on it. Don't care which one you roll. Just memorize what the symbols are because whatever. We'll see how this plays out. And I will let you know, there is a section here that's in Spanish. So if our pronunciations suck, I don't know who's liable to get them at this point because there's only 2 of them and there's 3 of us. So take your bets, place your bets. Oh, and this week's inspiration comes from the weather, because we can all talk about the weather and not get upset at anybody, right? Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. We'll find out. Aries, your special weather event is a cloudburst. Very specifically, what's called a downburst. It's a very strong downward current of air from a cumulonimbus cloud, usually associated with intense rain or a thunderstorm. Problem is, of course, you don't remember what a cumulonimbus cloud looks like. So this week, buy an umbrella hat, add a grounding strap to it, connect it to your right shoe. You might get struck by lightning, but by gum, you're not going to die from it. Remember, it's got to go down your right. I mean, unless, of course, you've got your heart on the wrong side of the right side of. Okay, if you've got your heart on the right side of your body, it's on the wrong side of your body. So, consult your physician to find out about that one. It's important.
Taurus, for your personality, we're giving you green lightning. No, you're not just imagining things. There is a real phenomenon. Sometimes this can happen when there's a lot of sodium in the air, so around the oceans, but it can happen inland in winter when all the salt is used the roads. This week, remember the joke, what happens to a toad that's struck by lightning? Same thing that happens to everything else.
Yeah, for those of you that are wondering, yes, that is from the first X-Men movie. And for those of you that don't know what the answer to the joke is, look it up. We're not going to spoon feed it to you this time.
Gemini, it's not weather per se, but chemtrails. Now, before you get all up in our grill about this, is that too old a reference? Whatever. Okay, so there really is a system for spraying stuff into the clouds to artificially induce rain. This week, stop throwing salt over your shoulder to warn off bad luck. The ants don't appreciate the rainfall you make happen.
Yeah, apparently using just plain off-the-shelf table salt can work. I didn't know that. Cancer Moonchild, your damaging personality brings us something called straight line winds. So picture this. Get a thunderstorm, have it form a mess of rain in the center like it's the center of a donut, and add a downdraft that tries to flatten everything getting in its way. Because that's how Mother Nature's decided to create crop circles out of 50-year-old maple trees. This week, find your rubbers and wear them for a change. There are certain people right now, especially in the audience, who know exactly what the term means. Thank you, British English.
Hello.
Well, look at that. Joseph.
Well,
You can hear me now.
Yes.
yes.
Sorry about that.
Not a worry. And yeah, sorry that I did see that you tried to find us last week, and we weren't here last week. So, hi. Sorry. We're back for you now.
Okay. And I'm here too.
Alrighty.
Should I read the next one, Leo?
Actually, Tech's got Leo, and then you've got next.
No, I've got Leo because you just went.
Oh, that's right. I'm losing track of my mind.
I got Virgo.
Leo, you want to be appreciated for what you are, not what you seem to be. That's admirable. This week you are not a tornado. You are a waterspout. Be proud of your marine upbringing. Swirl that fine mist of water right to the surface. But, and this is important, do not smack people around the face with a trout because you were too young to understand that reference. This week, log into an IRC server.
Some people are old enough to remember that reference.
I remember when it first started. Virgo, we're taking you into long-term mythology for your item. Picture this. Thor and Loki are drinking together, as brothers do, and Loki challenges Thor to drink off his tankard. daring him to drink even just a little off the top. Well, sure as shit, Thor takes it and drinks and drinks and drinks. And the level's only just barely dropped. He's pissed off and tries again. Finally tries a third time, nearly passing out from the attempts. Your kind of weather pattern is called ebb tide, because Loki's tankard had its other end in the world ocean. This week, learn the difference between bad beer and ocean salt water. Joe, on you.
Libra. For you, hail has made its way into your life. Yes, you could be cursed as being massively destructive to property, like to cars especially. But pace yourself, work in smaller forms, and you can be appreciated for refilling people's soft drinks with the freshest ice possible. This week, don't ask why your drink isn't filled with ice at your favorite vacation spot outside Exeter, England.
Yeah, Americans don't understand why you get a soft drink in Europe, including England, because, England doesn't like to consider itself part of anybody else's thing. And you don't get ice in it. Can't imagine why. Scorpio, it's time to energize your attention and plan ahead for something that's only spoken about in hushed tones. Almost on par with spirit hunters and EMF detectors, you get ball lightning. You were always picked last in dodgeball games, and that's okay. Let all the kids who were picked before you have first dibs on catching that sucker. This week, write down all your best worst hurts and amps jokes to make fun of them, so they'll be shocked at your delivery.
Sagittarius.
No laughter at all. Really, not a. Okay, fine.
Sagittarius. Para el niño es el patrón meteorológico que mejor encaja con tu personalidad. Sí, podríamos haberte hablado en inglés, pero ¿qué? Hey, de verdad en eso? Now, if you were as good in Spanish class as you were making gas stoves and cooking class explode, you'll know which insult just came your way. This week, just swallow in your poor life choices.
Did warn you that there was going to be Spanish, and I'm terribly sorry. And look at it this way: once it's posted online next week, you can read it yourself and translate it and find out what was said.
And I do not speak Spanish, so
That I
butchered it.
So did I. Tech, good luck.
Since Sagittarius has El Nino, you have La Nina. But since you paid attention in Spanish class, you know we're not insulting you. Keep smiling, everyone. It'll make them wonder what happened.
You cheated. You
Damn
good.
straight. I ain't doing that one.
All right. All right.
Aquarius. You're getting something that is just, what's the expression the kids use today? Chef's kiss.
Slap.
Is that one too old? Too old too? Who cares? You get a polar vortex because it's just so much fun to say. Say it with us now. Polar vortex. It almost sounds like Jason Voorhees, right? This week. Ha 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 ha.
It's
That's okay.
and they don't say chef's kiss. They say that slaps.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Sounds like Bionic Man sound effects.
No, Bionic Man. Do.
That's not a sound effect.
Sound effects.
Oh wait, no.
You know, the sound effect.
I can't mimic the sound effect from the Bionic Man with my mouth.
I can. Look. See, I'm good at that. Shut up. I'm going to let my nerd flag fly, and I don't care who sees it. Finally, my fellow fish Pisces, whenever I'm with him, something inside starts to burnin', and I'm filled with desire. Could it be the devil in me, or is this the way love's supposed to be? Barry Gordy would be pissed with you if you didn't realize that what you get is a heat wave. The only cures for this are a sprinkler head on a slightly opened fire hydrant, or, this is your week's purpose, stop doing the wave at sporting events. I was going to make some kind of a reference to cowbells, but I decided not to. But I just did. Shit. All right, fine, whatever. Those are your horrible scopes for this week. If you liked them, enjoy your nerd flag. Let it fly hard and heavy, and I don't know what it's supposed to be.
And don't forget, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
As always, I'll have these posted at the end of the week. Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, because some people are going to want to try to read it and are really going, okay, what was that Spanish? Yeah, go read it for yourselves. Translate it. Google Translate is helpful, if not always completely accurate. Though it was accurate enough for it was as you should put it that way, because yeah, that's exactly what happened.
I mean, don't forget, one of the AI creators, was it Google or who? There was an article. I'll have to find it again. Somebody made an AI modification that was designed to be used in hopes that people who wrote news articles would use it to write their articles.
I
Yeah,
don't know how I feel.
nothing could go wrong with that one.
No.
No.
Might as well use it for writing email scam, because I mean,
They might actually get better at it.
That's funny enough. You're exactly right. They might actually look better for a change. We'll have to see. It's episode 458 on the docket, Your Honor. FAFO. Tick Tock. Those of you that don't read acronyms, initializations, no, that's an acronym because you can pronounce it. FAFO. FAFO. Frick around and find out. Because TikTok. Because there's a number of stories that are going on right now, and some of them are religiously motivated. Some of them are not. But we're going to end up hitting on a couple of these because what they've all got in common is that some of these people just decided that they were going to just screw around, and now they're finding out. And wow, some of these stories are just delicious to listen to. So let's start off with the easy, low-hanging fruit. Over here in the U.S., there are a couple of states that have decided that they're going to enact very special regulations about what kinds of books are available in school districts, because they want to specifically weed out books that have bad things as far as they're concerned. Things like same-sex couples and any information about very specific bodily functions and autonomy and, pornography or anything that could be deemed as such. And well, it turns out these guys decided to put this into effect only to find out that there are groups out there that said, hey, do you have the Bible in your school districts? Why, yes, you do. I would like to use your online petition to suggest it be removed. And, well, cue the screaming and gnashing of teeth, because why the hell not? So who wants to start off with the low-hanging fruit on these as far as to what topics are covered on the Bible that might otherwise be inappropriate for, middle school, high school, grade school kids?
Mass murder, genocide, cutting off the tips of 1,000 penises, raping recently widowed women and children, by the people who killed their husbands.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Um,
Is it penises or peni? Penis.
I'm going with penises.
I'm gonna go with that. Sure. Yeah.
Yep. Ooh, how about the kids who made fun of a bald person? So the bald person prayed to God, and God sent 2 she bears because it was important to know that the bears were female bears and not male bears to maul and kill the children. You know, incest. Thanks for that one, Stephanie. Yeah, there's a whole lot in the Bible that if it wasn't sugar coated in churches and Sunday schools and things like that, would be very quite inappropriate for children. Unfortunately, they do tend to sugarcoat it, so that you know if the kid has a nightmare, obviously they were thinking bad thoughts.
Of course.
It's the child's fault, obviously.
Yeah. Brigid, over to you because you're basically gonna need to be the stand-in for the short, red-headed, angry girl. Because what was covered?
Ezekiel 23:20.
You know me too well. So technically, it covers what area?
Oh, lovers who have members that are like donkeys, like extremely well hung.
So technically, it's not bestiality, but technically, they're talking about it as if it should have been. But
Yeah.
then again, we furries kind of get a bad rap about that whole damn thing, so we'll just leave that one aside for right now, and you all can do your own jokes later, and I'll send you over to firstscience.com, and they can talk to you. Joseph, what other ones did you want to throw in there? Because, oh my god, there are just so many, just in Genesis alone.
I forget what book it's in, but there's a recipe for an abortion.
That's good.
Exodus.
The Exodus or Numbers?
Oh, it's Numbers. It's Numbers chapter 5, 11 through 33.
Holy shit, chapter and verse, really?
Yes, really.
Damn, you're better than me.
And don't forget, it's not murder, because according to Genesis 2:7, the breath of life is when you're born. That's when you get a living soul. And like, if you ask the Jewish community, they consider that personhood begins at birth, not conception.
Yep.
Amazing. Which is why you did see the Jewish community lose their shit and file charges in Florida against all the shit that went down over there.
Yep, very much. Stephanie's also, yes, by the way, yes. Thank you, Stephanie, about mentioning about incest over there, because, I mean, and let's also remember, there was also specifically drunken incest. Because
well, not only was it drunken incest, it was rape, because he was drunk and he could not consent.
Yep, that's good point. Call me out on that one. That's good. Because, yeah, infanticide was also another good one. Let's see, biological warfare, although it's never mentioned about the various plagues of Egypt. I mean, there were children that were intentionally killed, the firstborn of every family that didn't put... Brigid, just painting with blood.
Lamb's blood.
Isn't that a biohazard, really? And
that is biological waste.
Yeah, and it was only
Speaking of biological waste, I need to. I know I over exaggerated when I said 1,000 penis tips. It was only 200.
Oh well, there you go.
Sorry,
that's perfectly.
That makes it better.
No, it's fine. I mean, come on. think about it in these terms. Go to the New Testament, and Jesus sat there on the mount talking with everybody, and spread 200 foreskins amongst 1,000 people. It just kept flowing. It's just the way that it. I'm pretty sure I'm just kind of screwing up something here. I don't remember. It doesn't really. Nobody's going to file check me on that one. What was the one I was thinking? Oh yes, your disobedient children can be group killed because they're disobedient children. With the blessing of the no, you don't need the blessing of the elders. You just bring them to the front, inform the elders, and then you've got free reign to have everybody stone and kill the kid. You don't even need an approval from anybody. You just go ahead and just do it because you can.
Oh yeah.
Because, why not? I mean, you brought him into this world. You can take him out again. You can just make a new one, right? So all this is in the Bible, and the collective people in charge.
In the host chat, I posted a wonderful link to a website called Inspirational Christians, and what somebody did in there was they posted 10 gruesome Bible scenes as recreated in Legos.
Oh, if memory serves, there is an entire book for exactly doing Bible stories in Lego. But
you can, if you go to the link, you can see the pictures. It's great.
I'll make sure it's in the
Yeah.
It's in the show.
By the
notes
way,
about it all.
the concept of being able to kill kids who basically disobey their parents was used in a book called Unwind by Neil Schusterman. And the idea is that the child can't be aborted because they haven't had a chance to do anything yet. But between a certain age up until basically their teenage years, they can be unwound because they're not being a positive impact on society. They're being a negative impact. And so when they're unwound, okay, which is basically another term for murdered, all their spare parts are then disseminated amongst the active population. Somebody needs a heart, there's a heart. Somebody needs lungs, there's lungs, and so on and so forth, because they continue living on in the bodies of other people. This is how it's justified, mind you. And so it's not uncommon in the story in this dystopian future for like orphans to get unwound, rich families who have that unruly kid who just won't calm down to get unwound, and so on and so on. And I'm like, the way the American Taliban is currently functioning, I could see them preaching this shit.
They've done a lot of weird.
And they could use the Bible to easily justify it because somebody already did. They just did it in the terms of fiction. And you and I both know, looking at the technology aspect of the world, fiction sometimes becomes nonfiction.
Yeah, there's now this whole thing that we're talking about, this very specific piece, seems to be, and I will admit I have not done a lot of vetting on this one, seems to be a very specific U.S. thing. I can't imagine why. So, Joseph, best of your knowledge, and I know that I'm just kind of swinging for no good reason on this one. The best of your knowledge, out your general neck of the woods, the entire continent is your overall general neck of the woods compared to where we are right now. This kind of thing isn't even an issue in schooling, I would assume.
No. No, by law, all schools are, unless they're private schools. Everything here is strictly like meaning non-religious.
Which, theoretically, here in the United States, is how it's supposed to be. God, who knew we could actually learn something?
I think it's even forbidden to wear religious symbols in schools. You have a necklace with a cross on it, or Star of David.
For the teachers and administrators, or for the entire school populace, meaning the students also?
The entire school populace.
That's a different.
Oh God, they're not allowed to wear a religious symbol to class. How will they ever learn anything if they can't express their religiosity while they're studying non-religious things? Oh, think of the children.
God, you're adding into
I
a
really
little,
hope people realize that that was sarcasm, and
little bit.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now that one I've got that one I could go either way on. To say that students are not permitted to wear any kind of religious symbols. Like I said, I can go either way on that one myself, because that somewhat sounds like, quote unquote, a school uniform for a public school. It's an anti-uniform, because it's something you're not allowed to wear, as opposed to where if it was a uniform, this is what you're supposed to wear. But the amount of religiosity, the level of religiosity, especially in France, from what you said, if I remember right, is just incredibly low by comparison to the U.S., right?
Yeah, and I actually felt bad one day because I was heading up towards north of Paris, and I was walking the street, and there was actually a preacher out on the street trying to get people to come in.
So not like over here where we've got street preachers that are just out there with a bullhorn and yelling at people. You mean like somebody trying to actually
No.
invite folks into the church for services?
Yeah, yeah, and he looked quite uncomfortable doing it. I almost
Wow.
felt bad, actually, for the guy.
Wow. I've never heard of such a thing happening.
Yeah, I
Wow.
hadn't seen anything like it before.
And
And that was 2 years ago, so before the COVID.
That didn't help. Wow. You know what? That I share that with you then. That does, I mean, we, generally speaking, for those of us on the show, there's no love lost between us individually and churches in general. I mean, we're I don't know about anybody else. I'm kind of apathetic. I don't want them to be there, but at the same time, they're there. I'm not gonna go into them. I'm not gonna firebomb them, folks. By the way,
Well,
remember, trying to firebomb a Roman Catholic place doesn't usually work, because they're usually constructed with, like red brick and marble. That doesn't burn, so don't even bother. Keep that in mind.
And
Again,
because we're not fascists or nationalists or any of those other kinds of things, don't go around firebombing anything.
well, yeah, that stands to. I mean, that tracks.
Unlike the preachers who basically hint that others should go and like burn down, Planned Parenthood, even though most Planned Parenthood locations don't actually do abortions. They just help you with paperwork and file for things, because who cares about logic and the facts.
That does end up being an interesting piece, though. Oh, and as an aside, by the way, Stephanie has pointed out over here that in the UK it's quite a little bit different. For instance, girls can wear a hijab, for instance, and our national curriculum includes teaching about religions, plural, Islam, Hinduism, as well as Christianity and all its diversity. Comparative religion classes, I am absolutely on board for, and I think that is an important piece to do as comparative religion classes, kind of the same way that you would study any other mythologies. You at least get an idea as to where they came from, the time frame, what they were intended to try to explain, because a lot of mythologies and religions from the day, the idea was to try to explain how things were operated. And yeah, we're currently in the middle of what later will be viewed as mythology, but I agree that there really should be an opportunity to folks to understand all the stuff. Obviously, not every denomination of Christianity, because no, but being able to understand all that stuff is, to me, it's really important. Having a non-uniform statement as far as to what the students can do, like I said, I'm not sure that I'm necessarily on board with that, but at the same time, again, the greater populace is not really that pushy about it, so I guess it's kind of a more a, what's the word that I'm looking? It's not as onerous a rule to make, which I guess kind of makes sense. It's not quite the same as over here in the US, where girls are not allowed to wear spaghetti straps because reasons, or guys are not allowed to wear shorts in the near summer months when it's super hot for reasons. I don't know. There's stuff on that. That's a different animal, but be that as it may. But getting back to it all, yeah, groups that had instituted the whole, we want to get rid of all of the nasty reading material, threw a hissy fit like crazy when they were met with the whole, well, the Bible's got, and they were literally given chapter and verse and told this is what's in there, and they had to go ahead and pull it off the shelves long enough to have somebody read the specific sections and find out, does it actually fall afoul of the rules that they made? And yeah, it did. But we're going to bend the rules and we're going to put it back into the shelves in the high school for kids to read because reasons? No, don't need reasons. Brigid, I'm assuming that you heard about some of that, because that's a little bit more out your neck of the woods, so to speak, at least state-wise, out the Midwest, and yeah, all kinds of fun for that.
Well, I mean, they haven't done anything like that here in Indiana yet, but I'm sure it's coming. But there's probably not enough people here that would raise a stink about it anyway to even have it looked into.
It's been fun for me to have these things pop up on my news feeds. Joyful.
Well, the low-hanging fruit that I like is from time to time you'll see the Twitter hashtag trending, not a drag queen.
Yeah, let's hit that. Because
Those are for all of these little pedophiles that are running around that are not a drag queen, that are, ministers and politicians and things like that.
and politicians.
And politicians. And politicians.
And religious leaders, and sometimes the mixing of the two. Yeah, that was when we were off at Rochester Pride. There were a lot of signage, whether on T-shirts or placards or whatever that was going on, where there was, I don't want to say overt references to that kind of thing, but very clearly, drag is not a crime.
Yeah, well, what I understand is that whenever I see somebody put up a sign saying that drag queens are essentially pedophiles or child groomers or whatever, I instantly know that that person has zero appreciation for any of William Shakespeare's works. That they are essentially uncultured.
Yeah, yeah. The Elizabethan
Hmm.
Elizabethan theater world, the Japanese theater world, to also go on that
Oh
for
yeah, with like the kabuki masks and
yep,
everything.
yep. People keep forgetting that in a lot of areas, it was for a good while. I I don't remember if it was specifically illegal or just not allowed. I mean, there's a difference for women to be performing in theater. So, yeah. And then when you want to start getting into it, you get things like some of us still remember Uncle Milty, Milton Berle. He dressed up in drag for various skits many times.
Oh, yeah.
Tony Curtis did it in what the hell movie was it that he did it with? Uh, um, was it Some Like It Hot? I forget which movie it was. I think that's what it was. It might have been Some Like It Hot, The 7 Year Itch, something like that, back from the late 40s, early 50s, and they dressed up in drag.
Yeah,
Never
because
thought,
they were hiding from the mob.
yeah,
Yeah.
nothing to it.
Hmm.
Big thing, and nobody had any kind of a problem with that because it
Because
wasn't
nobody
a
was
thing.
told to have a problem with it.
There is that.
Don't forget, these are people who are incapable of thinking for themselves. I mean, look at actually I can segue this into Leviticus 18:22. I used to love to joke that the Bible actually had instructions for um, proper male homosexuality uh, intercourse, because in Leviticus 18:22, most Bibles that are not Hebrew are interpreted as "You shall not lie with a male as with a woman is an abomination." And I said, "Yeah, but they forgot the rest of the sentence. You have to flip him over because he doesn't have any entrances in the front. You have to flip him over for the entrance in the rear. Get it?"
I don't believe that I'd ever heard about this part.
That's a joke. That's the running gag is you can't lie with another man as you would a woman because the parts aren't there, so you have to flip him over. Um,
Was that a joke or is that a fact?
that's a joke. It's
No, I
that I make.
no, I get it.
Yeah,
I
The
get that it's a,
passage,
but
the,
the
the
thing
passage
is that
after doesn't exist. Okay.
no, the passage does exist. Leviticus 18:22 does exist that a man shall not lie with a man as a woman. But the thing
Yeah.
is that that's an improper translation. Okay, if you go back to Hebrew, and I put a link in host chat. Um, there was studies done by actual Hebrew scholars for the translation. Leviticus, excuse me, section 18 actually deals with intercourse with involving incest, because at the time there was a major problem with male adults having incest with young males. And so various sections dealt with menstruating women, one guy marrying two women, two sisters, infidelity, bestiality. This one particularly dealt with incest between a man and a young man. And the closest true translation to English that Leviticus 18:22 from straight from Hebrew to English, the American what we here in America use, should actually be paraphrased as sexual intercourse with a close male relative should be just as abominable to you as incestuous relationships with female relatives. But we don't see that in most of the Bibles because it gets there when things get translated, things are lost. That's why, like, you'll hear so many members of the Muslim community go, Well, did you read the Quran in the original written language? No, then you're misinterpreting. And technically, they're not wrong. They're really not that far off. If I was to read something that was written in Japanese and somebody had translated into English, there's probably a really good chance that the translation wasn't great.
We have a statement on the floor. Doc Waxon, who, by the way, good morning, Doc. It's good to see you. I hope
Doc
you're.
Waxon, yeah, I agree with you on that one. It's like, why is it there?
Yeah, Doc.
That is like the horrible spot for it.
Doc is one of the folks that I've known from Second Life for a while, and because he is also in UK time zone, it's also old dark stupid for you too. So hi, Doc is mentioning over here. Here's one for y'all. He didn't write y'all. I'm just a little bit tired and slurring. So leave me alone. No, I've not had any alcohol today. Actually, I haven't had any alcohol in a couple of days. I'll explain about that in a minute. Here's one for you all. If homosexuality is a no-no according to God, all right, I'm going to pause right there. That's because God didn't have access to VHS porn tapes back in the day. I could guarantee you that was a staple back in the 80s. I challenge anybody to change my mind. Why did he put the male G-spot up a man's ass? Because God was stupid with biology many, many times over. He gave humanity a lizard brain as a first building block. So, is what it is, I suppose. So,
yeah. More importantly, to add on to that one, and this applies to men and women. Now, granted, the nerve bundles are different in terms of quantity for each person to person, but that's just the roll of the genetic dice. If God didn't wanted to was punishing sodomy, right, as a sin, then why are there pleasure nerve endings surrounding the anus?
there are also taste buds of sorts in the anus.
Yeah, I
we're not
tend to
gonna.
ignore those,
All well and good.
especially after having nachos.
All well and good up until the you start to freebase sriracha. I don't recommend that. Really, please, folks, do not ingest you know capsaicin straight. Please, just don't
Yeah, don't do that.
don't do
That's
that.
not a good thing.
Don't do that. If you're gonna do it right, do it the right way and snort it. Go ahead. I dare you. I fucking dare you. I dare you. Because that would mean that you'd have to actually find the stupid stuff, and I don't think that folks should be able to find that powder.
Of course, I'd be willing to bet that a lot of people would just dismiss it as it was done that way to tempt you, and you have to resist temptation. Otherwise, you don't get to go to this place where it's great all the time, but you'll forget all the people that you loved and care about because they were heathens, and they're going to be punished forever and ever and ever and ever.
Yeah, welcome to heaven. And everything's fine so long as you allow yourself to have your brain fiddled with.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've thought about it back when I was questioning religion, but I was still religious, right? I still was a believer, and I was like, wait a minute, hold on here. The Bible doesn't really talk about heaven, so what is it that people are saying? And, they're saying this, but how can it be like this if one side of my family's one belief system and the other's the other? One's wrong apparently, and that means the other one's going to be punished for all eternity. How the hell am I supposed to be happy? Well, obviously, the only way I could be happy that they're being punished is that my will and my decisions are taken away from me. I don't have the option to be anything other than happy, which is a form of torture. So I would be tortured as well. because the moment I got the freedom for my own feelings back, the anger, the remorse, and everything else, it would come like a tidal wave. That's horrible.
Let's slide on a little bit past this one because
Yeah,
I want to
I
go into
know.
the political side for a second because there's stuff that's kind of important to hit. Like I said, the religious part that kind of works with politics. Okay, great, but street politics for a second because I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna piss off people over here in the United States, and this is gonna kind of date this just a little bit and reminding folks it is currently near the end of July 2023. From let's see, which headline do I want to use? How about I use MSNBC's? Harris rips Florida going soft on slavery. DeSantis seeks GOP favor, attacks Black history. Now that headline doesn't exactly give enough for my taste. It's a good one because it is less reactionary and much more, middle of the road, trying to stay a little bit more with the facts and less with the sensationalism. So let me give you the one that kind of helps this one out. From the Tampa Bay Times. I know, not exactly the same readership, but just humor me a second. The headline is much shorter, and it says, Florida history lesson. Slavery as an unpaid internship? Granted, it's an editorial, but it's because of the wording that Ron DeSantis has gone ahead and used terminology this week as he tries to ingratiate himself to the Republican Party to become the front runner in place of Ciro Mussolini for the presidency of these United States of America by saying, and the short version of it is, African Americans turned out to have been given effectively intern programs in their work lives, so they took these skills with them once they were freed in order to help themselves become good workers of America and fulfilling for themselves. Would anybody like to make any kind of statement regarding this? And Joseph, if you've heard about this one on your stage over there, I would be very, very disappointed because that means that we are becoming a laughingstock again to a certain degree back over your side of the world.
Oh, well, the U.S. has been a laughingstock since George Bush Jr. was elected.
That's kind of fair.
Yeah.
Wasn't he the one that had a couple of shoes thrown at him at one point?
Yep.
Oh, that was precious scene. That was...
Some
Oh,
people.
that kind of pissed me off. I mean, I may not have voted for the guy, but they're still throwing, shoes at the representative of my country.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he was also on somebody else's soil. And the thing that I was upset about was at that distance he missed twice. But some folks.
I would have been upset had one of their representatives been on our soil, who was an atrocious person, and one of us threw a shoe at them, missed or not otherwise. That's
fair.
where I'm going with this.
That's
But
fair.
the meaning is different, though.
Huh?
I said the meaning is different, though. Over there, that was like the worst insult that you can give someone. And if you'll notice, you never see the bottoms of people's feet in the Middle East because it's highly offensive to show the bottom of your foot.
And if I remember
So the
right,
symbolism was like throwing shit at him.
yeah, and oh God, I forget whose statue it was that was pulled down, and the populace were so happy that this guy was just gone out of office. I don't remember, killed at the time or whatever it was. They're dragging the statue to this guy, and everybody that was around for it had taken off at least one shoe and was whacking the statue of whoever the hell it was. So yeah. But anyway, back to it. Saying that the people who were enslaved and brought to this country and used as human chattel, they got something out of their time and used it as work experience to become better people after they were freed, better workers themselves as free people. I'm going to say it this way. Every time I think they've hit rock bottom, somebody finds a way of drilling just that little bit more. I don't even. So the piece that I'm going with on this one is, I am very much hoping that the find out portion of this is going to be the biggest cat fight that will end up happening between the folks from this Republican Party. I would otherwise call them the Q Party, but that doesn't come off the tongue very easily, apt that it might be. And the group will simply end up destroying itself in a fine red mist. I can only hope. So, I'm not the only one that heard about this one. I'm assuming anybody got something to hope for the future find out on this one?
Well, I mean, Kamala Harris did a pretty good job ripping him a new one.
Fill me in on this one, because I didn't get the chance to hear about this.
I have never seen her so angry before, but she was livid and talking about gaslighting, Black people by telling them that, slavery was a benefit. And, how dare he? And that would be like, telling Jewish people that they had had it good during the Holocaust because they got free tattoos and free train rides,
And a great diet plan to lose weight.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, if we're going to go that far into it, we might as well hit them all right. I mean, there's a certain level of things where you can make jokes about with Black humor. This stuff is definitely not it. And I'm really waiting for the day when we finally see Ron DeSantis, that from his jawline back to his neck, that the top of his head finally swings open, and we finally find out that there's some kind of like a little gremlin or something that's been operating this meat puppet all this time. Stripe has finally come back, and that's why
He's one
is
of the lizard people.
It's I wouldn't put it past him. Lizards typically only worry about themselves. Gonna go with that. Stephanie had also pointed out, had you seen those photos of a freed slave taken in the 19th century showing his scars?
Yes.
Yeah. And every once in a while, when this area of concern comes up, I can't help but see that image in my head, and it just doesn't go away, because I absolutely cannot understand. I just can't. Maybe there's something strange about me that, I'm a gentle person or something, but I just can't understand myself. Stephanie's also pointed out, DeSantis is losing support. Trump is going to be neck deep in trials, if not actually in jail, by the time the GOP start voting on their presidential candidate. Get out the popcorn. Yeah, that's kind of where this whole thing is going to be translating to at this point. That the former guy has done so many things, and again, it just keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper. Never mind with all of the other things that have to do with paperwork and Tech. I want you on this one. He stole artifacts. News had come out about this one that he basically had some artifacts that were loaned to the White House for they were supposed to be there for a week, maybe two, and 2, 3, 4 years later, still waiting to get him back. Had you heard about this one?
You're talking, if I remember correctly, the stuff he took to Mar-a-Lago, and I don't mean the classified documentation. I mean the things that he got from Israel.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. So these are
If I remember correctly, it was for a Hanukkah event, and then they never got it back.
well, I mean, Hanukkah lasts 2, 3, 4 years, right?
No, 7 nights or 8 crazy nights. Sorry, 7 days, 8 nights.
And it's still not back. And it's
Yeah. It, it just
it just keeps going and going and going.
it's one thing after another with that fucking Oompa Loompa Mussolini.
Okay, I'm going to make a dark humor joke here. Please remember, it's a dark humor joke. It's not the first time that anybody's made this one. I sincerely hope the folks over there in the UK don't get upset about that because they've been kind of doing this for a couple hundred years, so, they've got experience in this kind of thing. It's a joke that others have made before. A lot of English places are, getting on board with returning these things from museums and such. So I'm just getting the one joke out one time. Who knows? Maybe I'll actually generate some hate mail for a change. Any mail. Get that out of the way.
I will say this. For the countries that have started to actually return stuff that was taken at some point in history from somewhere else. Okay, good. Better late than never at all. Instead of saying, well, they should have done it 20 years ago or 30 years ago, or they should have never done it. It's like, you're right, they should have never done it. Yes, they should have returned it earlier. For whatever reasons, it didn't, but it's happening now. Okay? It people take spoils of war. All throughout history, we've seen it. It's documented. Hell, the Bible tells you to take people as spoils, for crying out loud.
Let's be clear about this. It doesn't say people. It says young
Women and children
who have never known a man. That's entire. They don't even say keep the oxen. Slaughter everything, everyone. All the animals, kill them all, but take the little girls for yourself.
So anyway, but the point is that humans do terrible things for any and all and no reason at all. And I don't think we give people enough credit when they try to do it right. Especially when they're trying to do it for the right reasons. I mean, some people try to do right because, oh, well, I fucked up, I got caught, so now I'll do the right thing. It's like, you're still an ass, and we're not going to forgive you that easily. On the other hand, if somebody goes, if the realization sets in, they demonstrate that, wow, that was a really fucked up thing to do. I need to make this right, and they go and they try to make things right. Give that person some credit, or that group of people some credit. We've kind of stopped doing that.
Yeah, there's a lot about that. Where is it over here? Stephanie had also pointed out returning artifacts would empty every major museum in the West.
Mm.
Good.
And some artifacts can't be returned because some places don't exist anymore.
Sadly, there is that. These current technological abilities to high, incredibly high resolution scan objects at this point is, I'm not going to say commonplace, but is doable. Hell, the
Especially
ability
here in the U.S.
Yeah, and never mind scanning just the outside for photographic evidence and topographical information. We have the ability, technologically speaking, in the world to scan the entirety of things. Hell, they were able to scan, I forget through what radiological methodology, they were able to scan mummified people from thousands of years ago in order to recreate their bone structure in a virtual environment. Their throat, be able to hear what sounds would have come out, what the
The
voice
box, yeah.
might have sounded like. So the idea that we can't return everything and still keep a record of it at this point, technologically speaking, as far as I'm concerned, that's bullshit. And in time, these things should go back to their homes. I mean, hell, if we have the ability of starting to read the ink off of charred remains of stuff from, like, I don't know, I forget where it was, Pompeii, to be able to read the ink off of the pages of stuff that are just otherwise just burnt, and there's no way, there are no papers there anymore, or the equivalent thereof. There are no sheets of, and be able to read what's actually in there by reading the ink patterns without disturbing anything. Absolutely, we can do that. But that's
And
the
more
long-term
importantly,
thing.
we would also, it's also very easy to offer services. Hey, your country seems to be going through an extreme amount of turmoil right now. We have these historical items. Would you like us to hold on to these and continue to preserve these until your turmoil has died down? And then you can come in and get them back, or we can send them off to you. Or, hey, look, we found that by putting them in these controlled environments, we prolong them. You currently don't have the setup for it. Would you like us to continue holding on to them until you get your setup? And when you do, then you get, we'll hand them over to you. Offer to, you know, be Bennett, offer something positive in that way. That, you know, we've already got it here. We can hold on to it for as long as you need while you do your setup, and then back they go. But
As, as far as I know, there's museums waiting for the return of artifacts in both Egypt and Greece.
I think I recall that there were pictures, if I remember right, from some of these places where they had set aside locations where these different artifacts are supposed to go, and they've got signage that says that they're basically waiting for them to be returned, right?
that wouldn't surprise
Y-
me, because it's one thing to say it would be a nice thing to do. It's another for them to follow through with on the return process.
Yeah, and both of those are the British Museum.
Oh, I was thinking something was coming out of one of the Washington museums at this point.
Mm.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Or time. Somebody will figure it out. The Believe it or not, I think one of the other things that is worth hitting on um is something that I wasn't really thinking about, wasn't planning on, but it just suddenly, as happens for me, it popped into my head. The global climate changes.
No, oh, that's fake. Didn't you hear?
Yes, I heard. All while the celluloid on the films that showed how everything was wrong were melting in the cameras that were experiencing 140-degree heats inside of, Death Valley? I forget where exactly it was. There have been a couple of places where the temperatures have hit, it's fair to say, ungodly levels. Italy was hitting, there was somewhere that this, just the last couple of days hit, I forget what it was, 49 C, almost 50 C, I think. And Death Valley in the US hit what is almost the hottest temperatures ever recorded on the planet. So our societally, globally, our overall hubris regarding the temperatures of the planet do not stem from just the last 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. There were news articles, there were opinion pieces that were penned in newspapers when they were still using freaking movable type. And the concerns about what was going on. So the possibilities have been known about for, to say decades doesn't even put a proper underline. It's been known since the late 1800s. So the problem is the people who have done the fuck around part on this one, yes, I'll get away with saying it this time, are not the ones who are going to have to deal with the find out part, because there are so many of them who have since died just in the course of, it's just been so many years after. And it's just been exasperated over the last, let's call it 50 years. We'll call it 50 years because plastics became, a thing, a massive thing in that time frame. We forget how recently plastics was, a big thing on the scene. And I'm putting that together with it all because plastics is an offshoot from petroleum. Petroleum products and byproducts and exhaust products are some of the biggest problems that we've had in exasperating this global problem. So now we have so much find out that's been spread out over decades upon decades. And the find out people are the ones who are like, hey, why didn't anybody tell us about this stuff? And so much of it is because one word: greed. Because if the people don't know how bad it is, they can't do anything about it. Of course, that's the same kind of thing that was happening with lead, so now we get other things to try to clean up. The ones who are looking to having to clean it up are the youngest of us, the millennials plus, because they're the ones who are now going to become the stewards of it all. They get the short end of the stick. So far as the climate stuff going on, who wants to open on this one? Because there's a lot to unpack, and I don't know who wants to go how deep into this piece of it, because I feel bad about what's happening to the young generation that has to be stuck with the ramifications. Or we could hang me out to dry on this one.
Climate's fucked, yo.
No argument. Which is, I think, one of the worst parts about it.
Well, the worst part is that we have the technology to make a cleanup possible. It's just the people running our economy are just, they say no. They'd rather use technology for to increase their profits, and in doing so, make more of a mess.
Yeah, there is something to that. Let me go sideways with this for a second, because there's a piece about this. There's a thing that I had heard about from the guys over there at Merseyside, Skeptics with a K. I'm very behind on a lot of podcast listening. I've been listening to fluff stuff because I've needed to kind of be nicer to my head. But they had been talking about the idea of 15-minute cities. The idea being that you should be able to get to pretty much all the things that you need to get to within a 15-minute walk without the necessity of having an automobile. I'm on board on this. There are a lot of good things to be said about that kind of thing. Being able to get groceries, entertainment, food, the stuff that you would otherwise just need to do, be able to just walk there without needing external transportation. That's a cool thing. Here in the US, obviously, folks know full well that the 15-minute commute to walk anywhere is just, nothing was really planned out for that. Everything was, you've got transportation, so go out and do your thing, because the idea of being able to utilize electric vehicles. Now, I'm not gonna go on any particular brand or model or anything. It doesn't matter. But the idea of utilizing a renewable resource, electrical power, electromagnetic power. Let's make sure that we call a spade here for a second. Which otherwise, it itself does not generate any waste product other than heat, which can be mitigated depending as to what it is that you're working with, to be able to get around as a normal commute kind of thing, to offload so much of the petrochemicals and their offshoots, to me is a great thing. Except that it's not accepted because we have so much of the, I need to be able to drive 400 miles at a clip, because it doesn't matter that I'll never be doing that in the next 5 years. I want to be able to do, I need to be able to do that because I want to be able to do that. And I hate that mindset. I hate that mindset because that means that people here in the US especially just, I ain't gonna go ahead and get myself solar panels on my house because it's too expensive. I can understand that. I'm not gonna get a windmill on my property because it's too expensive. Again, I can kind of get that. I'm not gonna get an electric vehicle because, well, all right, the prices are high, but the long-term investment, the money is on the renewables. And we just don't look at stuff that way here in the US. And that pisses me off to a huge extent. Joseph, over for what you've seen, is there a bigger acceptance of renewable power for residential folks, for transportation?
Well, everything in France is, I think, about 70% of the Tock énergétique, let's say here. France is basically run by nuclear power. So, and the trains all the trains here are electric. There's no diesel. Even the high-speed TGV, they have the power lines running over the rails. And yeah, electric cars are quite common now. Over the past 10 years, Paris is basically, I think it's going to be pretty well empty of traffic, excepting for deliveries in the next 10 years. They shut down, there used to be two through freeways. I don't know what it was, like autoroute. It used to be two autoroutes running along the quay, along the river.
Okay.
And they've been shut down. They're all pedestrian now. They're basically turned into parks. So yeah, things are getting pretty green pretty fast. And the rail expansion, like they've been trying to link Paris to its suburbs. That's something I'm going to be benefiting from soon, perhaps. But they greatly expanded the rail system to the suburbs. When I came to Paris, there was 3 lines, A, B, and C, R, A, or C, and now they have lines going up to like R. But it's all nuclear power.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry. I just pulled up Paris on Google Maps, and I turned on the layer for transit. And the mass transit. Okay, let's be fair about it. Paris.
Be fair.
Paris is a
Be fair.
metropolitan city. I mean, I know I'm highly stating the obvious, but the amount of mass transit is wonderful for me to see.
Yeah, you can't walk 100 meters in Paris without coming across a metro entryway.
Yeah, and expanding out quite a ways out. Yeah, there are lines that go out to a number of the suburbs, like you were saying, and an opportunity like that makes so much sense. And like you said, if everything is, the majority, I should say, is working off of nuclear power, there's so little that you really have to worry about in the terms of is there a surplus? Is there not enough power? So long as the transmission lines are handled correctly, there's very little that could ever go wrong with the generation port. And I'm painting a very large brush, and I'm going to tell you why. I will admit it. I don't like the idea of nuclear power. Fine, I said it. I have my reasons, but I try to keep that in check to be as objective as I can with the whole thing. It's working, cool. My problem is that there's still waste product when all is said and done, but that's for later. That's wild.
Yeah, well, but there's places that there's a lot of aeolians, wind turbines. When I'm going down to Burgundy, just by the station, just before getting to the Cône-sur-Loire station, there's this big wind farm there. I'm not so sure how much energy those things generate, though.
Which part? Wind?
Yeah, wind farms.
there are a number of areas out here in Western New York where there are large areas that are wind farms with the farmland. And reminding you here, if you take a look at the overview on Google Maps and look at Western New York, meaning from Lake Erie to on the west side to, let's call it Rochester to the east, and that section of New York, if you're looking on a map, the vast majority of that is farmland, just open farmland. There are areas, there are communities up here where, there are, I don't even know how many, but lots of like full-sized electricity creating windmills that they have community, I forget what the right term for it is, but co-op power systems, co-op power delivery that is just in their area. And power is even a fraction in cost for everybody as compared to surrounding areas, because they put up the upfront costs, and the little bit that they're paying into it is for, maintenance. How much is generated? Well, as always, it depends on just too damn many factors, and you just need to have some extra storage so that you keep it for when there isn't quite as much being generated. That's the thing that pisses me off. So many of these people who are just like, wind turbines are never good enough. That you can't generate. And what happens when there's no wind? You store it in batteries, you unintelligent git. What do you do when the alternator isn't running in your car and you've got no way to start it because you don't have any power? Because the alternator's not running. You've got a battery. The same principle. And oh my God, the weights on some of these batteries that are not using lead acid. I mean, Jesus, they got so much capacity, and you can lift them and swing them around in your hand and never have to worry about dropping them. These things are so lightweight. God, it amazes me.
What's really funny is that energy prices in France have skyrocketed. But
Something happened to your microphone.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you were talking fine before. All of a sudden, something has changed where your microphone doesn't sound right. I mean, it can kind of hear you, but something happened. See what you got there in a couple of seconds. Stephanie had pointed out, by the way, the thing with global climate change. We are beyond the tipping point. Reagan and Thatcher could have reversed it, but they knew that they would be dead before it hit, and meanwhile they could fill their pockets. It's hard for me to argue with that. So I don't think that I really will. It's not totally fair to put all of it on just them, of course. There are plenty of names to go around, but we're not going to do that right now because, we've only got a couple of minutes left, and, this isn't a 40-hour show. Get the idea of how many people were probably involved with that stupid thing, but that's a whole other issue. But I very much love the idea of just decentralized power production. Build up on your house, and you've got a trickle coming in from the mains to make sure that your power is topped off if you're not generating enough, and you store it locally, and then you use what you've got, and build it back up again during the day to generate whatever. Then again, decentralized power is probably a really, really bad thing for the bottom line for groups where, they investment in making power for everybody. Of course, that's just me. What the hell do I know? And for those that wonder, is that something that can actually be done? Yeah, because there are a lot of us that kind of already do that to a certain degree. If you have a UPS unit for your computer at home, kind of the same idea. Charge up the battery inside of it. The power works for whatever's plugged into it, and you're topping it off from wherever the power is coming from. And if that's from the mains, okay, it's coming from the mains. But you could just as easily be generating it off of wind turbine hooked up on your property. Charge it up that way. But again, what the hell do I know?
I'm on push to talk now. Is that working?
You sound perfect now.
Okay. I was saying earlier about the France's energy. France's energy costs have gone up by 300%.
Whoa.
And all that because of a European agreement that prices across Europe have to be regulated, which means one country can't have energy costs cheaper than another. And because that would encourage, I don't know, an energy auction or something like that. So Germany got out of nuclear power in the beginning in the 1990s. And so we're paying the price for that because Germany, for lack of other solutions, they've even gone back to coal. And of course, coal prices have skyrocketed. Don't ask me why. So just to be quote unquote fair, in order to keep on the level with Germany's energy costs, we have to hike our prices artificially. I'd like to know where all that money's going, but from all the profits they make. But yeah, it's become pretty hard for the average consumer here.
Funny enough, I was about to ask you that question. You had any ideas to where that money would go or is going?
Yeah, well, it's not in the daily news kind of information.
Minimally, not yet. I would imagine that there will be a moment where that's going to become news to find out once there's some kind of a scandal to go along with it, out who's lining which pockets. Stephanie's got a thing over here saying the money is going to shareholders. I know nothing about this one, so I can't comment on it.
Not in France because we are living in a socialist democracy, and the energy grid is owned by the state, and some of it has been offloaded to private companies, but they basically sublet the energy. But yeah, I would like to see more attention paid to those faceless shareholders. That's where all the profits are going. And we see nothing of these people in the news. Again, it's the shareholders who are withholding, efforts to reduce energy consumption, clean up industry, clean up everything. They go into the meeting, they vote no, they go back home, we see nothing of it. These are the real decision makers, not the CEOs.
Fair enough. Stephanie's also asking, then into the French treasury? You know, if it was done in... If something like this was done properly, those new profits should be going into more production assistance. This is the way that I think about it, where it should be going into subsidizing for more distributed power generation. Get more solar panels onto roofs because, I mean, why not? I mean, it's the real estate that's already covered with shingles of some kind. Just put them up there. That those profits should be going towards something that, you know, justifies. Okay, we're going to use it as an investment. We're not paying people extra for nothing. We're just putting it into so that we support other groups making their own to bring the power cost down for everybody long term. But again, that's the way that I think of stuff. It's not necessarily a way everybody else thinks about it, because pie in the sky idealist, regardless of my level of what's the word that I'm looking for? Cynicism? Yeah. But I can dream.
I mean, if you really wanted to put a kibosh on the whole price inflation thing being caused by other countries, have the money taken and be put into a program, the excess money generated by the price hike in the energy bills, so that they go around and they install in-home solar wind systems to compensate for their electric bill, right? So now they're drawing less electricity off the grid. Their bill goes back to being relatively close to what it was before, but the price hike is still in effect. Granted, it would be a slow, long process, but it could still happen.
Yeah, you're still paying a hell of a lot by comparison, but at least you're getting something out of it.
Well, you're actually not paying a hell of a lot, because now, since you're using less from the grid and your bill goes back down to normal, and you're using partially what you generate in your own home from the new system that you paid for, essentially you subsidized through the price hike, you're paying what you were paying before.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But more importantly, the other thing you're doing is you're reducing stress on the primary infrastructure as well. So now that doesn't have to be, as heavily invested into either anymore, other than the general maintenance. But some of that should go down a bit, and now you can use the limited but excess funding left over for investing in other programs. Maybe water conservation programs, maybe tree conservation programs, do some hippie stuff.
I got no problem with hippie stuff. I got no problem. You know what? We're pretty close to the top of the hour. I'm comfortable enough calling it here for myself. Was there any of you guys still had anything kind of left over that you wanted to just drop in without worrying about any extra talk on it or anything at this point?
Well, one of our chat people brought up the fact that they thought that beauty pageants were actually created by people who were
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
So along that lines, Forget the whole beauty pageant thing. If you want, I've mentioned it before, but if you really want some cringe, watch that whole fathers marrying their daughters bullshit. For Christ.
Mm. Yeah. The chastity pledge things are creepy as all get out, and I'm going to leave it at that because I really don't want to go down that rabbit hole because that's a level of creepy I really don't want to be dealing with. Plus, I can hear Heretic Woman's voice in my head yelling at me, saying, "Come on, we're going to do 3 hours now. Let's get started." No, not really looking forward to that at all. Otherwise, if we don't have very much of anything else, I say we just go ahead and just call a sucker and be done. So let's do that. Oh, great. Stephanie just dropped over here. Parting shot. Has anyone heard of Mossy Earth? You might be interested. They have videos on YouTube leaving you feeling good. I am unfamiliar with that one, but I counter you with Casual Geographic. You want to have a feel-good moment, Casual Geographic is the way to go, because you will realize that you just learned something and you're not so stupid as to go playing Pet the Bison in Yellowstone Park.
Pet the Bison. Wow.
Don't play Pet the Bison. It does not end well for anyone.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, let's not do that. So we'll go ahead, we'll call it a night. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Hope that you had some fun with all of us, trying to think about how we've been thinking about this stuff. And you got something to think about for the week ahead, because I'm intending on being back again next week. Again, sorry, every once in a while, a weekend goes. Sorry, it's just the way it goes. So to that end, Joseph, good to have you back. Again, sorry you chimed in and woke up early and didn't get to see the thing that we weren't having a show last week. Sorry. Thanks for trying, though. I appreciate it. I feel guilty as shit.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I just come when I can. So.
And we're glad to have you, man.
Yeah.
You take care of yourself.
Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, you too.
No worries. Oh, right. I forgot to. I was supposed to thank the chat group over there too. So, go back through over here. Stephanie, of course, as always. Thank you, Doc. Good to have you. Yeah, I know. The time in the morning is not exactly dark stupid because the sun's already coming up. But I mean, you know what I mean by that. And Felis, I don't know where you are. You might have fallen asleep. You know what? That's fine. Fine, so long as you didn't burn yourself on cast iron cookware again. I guess it's all fine. Tech, you too. Have a good morning, and good to hear you, man. You take care of yourself.
Yeah, you too.
And Brigid, wow. Target-rich environment. I don't know who you want to go ahead and give a big ol' FU to, but I'm hoping that one Judge Cannon was her name. I don't know who the hell it is. I just want her off the bench, but you know who I'm talking.
Yeah, but at least she didn't push things out past the election, so it could have been worse.
Okay.
But mine this week has to go to Marjorie Three Toes. Again.
Can't imagine why.
What the hell was that?
She's secretly in favor of Joe Biden.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. She had this great ad that was put on where she's talking about how great the Biden administration is doing with all these different. Oh wait, that was the Lincoln Project put that out, wasn't it?
No, that was actually Biden.
Yeah, that was on Biden's Twitter page.
I know. I was trying to do the whole thing that
being funny.
Well, I was trying to be funny because something like this I would normally expect it out of the Lincoln Project, because they're really good about putting that kind of stuff out. But no, Dark Brandon just went out there and did his things. Good on you, man.
But I'm like, what was that with Hunter Biden? Why are you so obsessed with his dick?
Because
Yeah,
she's not getting any, and she wants some.
She's getting divorced, isn't she? Or am I thinking of the wrong
Yeah,
one? Oh,
she's
she
getting
is.
divorced. So's Robert. They both are.
Yeah, I think you kind of need to give a little bit of context on this one because as salacious as it might be, I think it's probably good for you to go ahead and just make sure that we all understand why.
Showing pictures of Hunter Biden naked on the Congress floor. Why? What the hell? And it had nothing to do with anything.
She's thirsty for Hunter Biden.
Oh, she's hungry for something.
And didn't she, like 3 weeks ago, call for decorum on the floor? And then everybody was laughing at her?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be that for people to be laughing at her in Congress, but sure.
That just happened to be a reason that they were laughing at her.
So yeah, I think I speak on behalf of all of us here at the show where we say, what the hell, people? If I wanted to watch porn, I sure as shit wouldn't be putting on C-SPAN. Way to go. And yeah, with that, we'll just call it a night. Thanks everybody for being with us. If you'd like to be in touch with us, take a swing over to the website, holycrapthevlogcast.com. You got all of our contact info over there and the audio version of the podcast as it comes out. It's an irregular schedule, so you get to binge on a whole bunch of stuff. Assuming that YouTube wasn't good enough for you. If you'd like to leave a voicemail message, you can do that at 859-HCTV-554, 859-4288-554. Love to hear from you. Preferably without any, you all are effing stupid or anything like that. Because the last voicemail that we got was just peaches. Thanks, guy. I haven't forgotten, and I'm still sore about it. So, whatever. Because it's one of those situations where, yeah, we got cursed out, but, I mean, we got a voicemail. But it was cursing us out. But we got a voicemail. So, whatever. We will be back with you again next week. As far as to a topic, as usual, I got no idea. Figure it out as we get there. But if you've got a suggestion, by all means, throw it our way. We'll see what we can do. But otherwise, until the next time we are together, I wish you the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And what I said about not having any alcohol for a couple of days, the last one I had was on the 18th to celebrate what should have been my 30th wedding anniversary. So, as always, Matane Fujin, I love you, I miss you, dream of me. And folks, until the next time we're together, as always, good night.